Hey, welcome, the nerd here, and today we're going to talk about how we add buttons inside the iPhone app using Swift, aka SwiftUI. And I'm gonna break it down well easy, so like as I said, anybody can just jump on and get used to it. Time we left off, we were pretty much right here. We had our text on the screen, we had all our Vstacks, but since we're going to be working with buttons today, let's just clear this up so we can just start fresh. So an easy way how to just clear up the VStack and make sure you remove everything that we need. So if we remove just this, obviously you'll just see it disappear. Like you'll see, which one is it? I think that was Vibes Cartoon on World Boss. Give it some time. Yep, so that was it. So that got removed. So a quick way to do this is if you go up to the top of the VStack that you want to clear out, and you go to where the curly braces is, just press Command Option and the left arrow, and that will basically just condense everything. And all I'm gonna do is so all the stuff is inside here still. I just close it up so it's easier to just grab. So let's just get rid of all of this. Let's just get rid of the background, that yellow, the modifier that we added on it, and then let's just clear out the VStack in general, and then just add a new one, and then just press enter. So with this now, you should see basically a big white blank screen with nothing, because we don't have anything in the VStack anymore. So let's start this off with some buttons. So the first thing to get a button is literally you just type in button, and then you open it up with the parentheses, and then you'll see like 4 different options. The ones we're really going to be looking at today are this one right here, where it says the title, it uses the string protocol and it has an action, and the other one where it uses the action label. The localized string key here, we could use this, but the only thing is that this is usually if you want your button text to be translated to a different language versus English to Spanish, and you have to add in the Spanish separately in the code. We'll look at that, but a little bit later on. So just stick with the one right here, which is the title is string protocol. And then I remember whenever it's a string, we have to use quotation marks. So just add the quotation marks here and give this button a name. And the name of this button is gonna be the nerd. Actually, items. The nerd items. Okay, you can name your button whatever you want. I highly recommend you pick something else, cause that helps you learn it better if you're using something that you actually come up with. But if you really just can't bother, you can just stick with whatever I'm doing. And then the action now. So action is basically what do you want to happen when you click the button. So for now we're not gonna put anything, but just click on this blue space and just press enter. And then you'll see like some code here, like it's saying like enter some code for me. I want to do something when you click the button, the nerd items. So let's just back out that's just a placeholder, and then have this rebuild, and then you'll see the button right here. Since we're using the simulator here, we can't really click it to get that that button vibes, like that sync in and ease out. We won't get that. What we have to do instead is to actually run the application. There's another way how we could do it by using previews, but I know previews can take up a lot of space sometimes, like really slow down your computer. So I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna stick to running. So make sure you have a simulator selected up here. Right now I have the iPhone 12 simulator, and then you just click the play button, and then it will start building and making the simulator like a literal iPhone that you can really use on your Mac machine. And then you will see the simulator show up here, and then give it some time, and you will see the same button that we added pretty much here that you're seeing, the nerd items, will literally show up here. It's just taking mad long. I don't know what's up with it. Anyways, big up Shelly and Fraser, big up Sharika Jackson and Elaine Thompson, Olympic record holders. Okay, cool. So the button is actually here. So if you click on it, you'll see like it has that button vibe. But when you click on it, nothing's happening. And the reason for that is because, like I said, we didn't put anything inside here to make anything happen. So I'm gonna give you like a quick, something really simple that we can do to like get the idea to make the button actually do something. So one thing you can do is whenever we click this button, I want it to print something. I want something to show up. So what I could do now, I could type in print here, and print basically anything that we put inside print, any string that we put inside print will show up in our console here. If you don't know what your console is, don't worry. It's pretty much just like information that's happening in the background of the app, but we can show other stuff there. So again, inside the action part, inside these two curly braces, make sure you put print, and then for the action, for the print statement or the string that we're gonna use, I'm just gonna be like, what's for dinner? I'm gonna make it print. What's for dinner? Okay. Alright, so what we expect to happen is that whenever we click on this button here in the simulator, we will see what's for dinner. Let me just add the question sign too. We will see what's for dinner show up right here as well. So let's just run it again. And so we won't see any change to the UI, like how the button actually looks. Let me just resume so you can get a quick preview. So it is, yeah, so nothing changed. It's still the same, but take a look at what the action will be, what will happen when we click it. So I'm running the simulator. I clicked the play button here, and then if we go here and we click the nerd item, sorry, you'll see that we see like what's for dinner popping up. So basically we added what we wanted to happen whenever this button is clicked, right? So that's the first step. That's like the most important piece. How do we make the button do stuff? The next part that we're gonna look at now is, so let's just get like, what name should we put? Yeah, I'm gonna stick with dinner and items, and let's change my items. Just change the print to something else. So besides what's for dinner, let's change it to MacBook. So some of the items I got are a MacBook, and let's add another one. Let's add I got a camera too, and I got a microphone. So again, you don't have to use exactly what I'm using. You can like pick whichever items you want. If your name is John, you could be like John items or whatever you want the button to be. But whenever we click it, we're gonna see all these things print to the screen, like how we saw what's for dinner last time. So let's run it again. And then as the simulator builds and so forth, you can just click on the simulator and it will show up here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click the button and we're going to see different stuff happen. And I know this is pretty simple. You want to make apps right now, but trust me, like this is how it starts. Like you have to take your time and like continue building. So the first thing you notice is we see MacBook, we see camera, microphone, and I clicked it twice. That's why I'm seeing it again. So if I should click it again, let me jump back to the simulator, sorry. If I click it again, you'll see more of them coming up or so. So that's just a quick idea of what we can do. So let's just stop the simulator and I'll just maximize this. And it's printing all my stuff, but just to make it a little bit easier to tell the difference, I'm just gonna add some dashes, like just some random dashes so we can tell. So whenever we click it, I will be able to tell it's a different one based on the dashes. Just enough for video. You don't need to do this. If you're good with just looking at it, that's fine. So alright, I said the other thing, as I said, modifiers. So buttons have modifiers. One of the modifiers we're gonna check out is actually the color. Let's see, how can we change the color of the text? So by default, Apple makes it that button's default color is blue. So if you go here, obviously you'll see it's blue right here, but if we wanted to change that color, we would have to use a modifier. And a modifier again is just basically any change we want to make to a view, which can be a button, a text, or it can be a Vstack or a Hstack. So say I wanted to change this to red, I would have to call the foreground modifier, and then I would have to select the color I want. If this is really new to you, I would definitely suggest you just take a look at my other videos before, because we did talk more about modifiers, so I'm not going to dive as much into it right now. So let's just resume. And this is just a preview again, so let's give it some time. And then you'll see that it actually changes there. So another thing that we can do, we can actually still change the text. Like remember how in the last video we could change the boldness of the text and so forth? We can still do that right here. So all we have to do is add another modifier, which this would be font, and let's make it title. And you can clearly see that the sizing for this definitely increased. So we are able to edit like how the button looks and all of that. So let me change the color back to black. Well, it wasn't black, but I'm gonna make it black. And then I'm gonna add a background color. And we can to add a background color, all we have to do is add another modifier, type in background, enter, and then for the view we type in color dot, and you're just gonna pick whatever color you want. Again, I urge you not to just pick the same exact thing as me, like really pick your own thing. Me right now, I'm just gonna stick with color red, and you see the background changes right there. And we can't do any modifier video without touching on pretty much the most popular modifier to me, and that's padding. So one thing we can do with padding is that we can add space around, either it can be the top, the left, the top, the left, the right, or the bottom. So how we add spacing, again, I always say this, I don't know why they didn't change padding to just be spacing. But as you see it here, you see we have space here for the button, and we have space here for the button, and we have space here and here. So whenever we don't specify, like if we want it at the bottom, it will add it everywhere. So right now I change it to just add it at the bottom. So you see we have this extra space at the bottom. So if we added it same way, if I change it to be top, you'll see I don't have the space at the bottom anymore, but I have it at the top. But I kind of liked it when it was just padding all around. If you don't, you can just stick with this. But one thing I want you to do is that we're actually going to run it. Again, we can't really click on the button in the simulator unless we do a live preview. But I don't want to do that. I just want you to run it. So let's just click the run button again. And we're going to test out and see what this button is doing. And let me just make it that we can see it side by side. So I'm going to just minimize that a little bit. Okay, all right, so we have the button here, and we have the our information. So whenever we click this button, we should see print, we should see MacBook, camera, microphone, and the dashes, the hyphens, whatever you want to call those. So click it one time, we got it. So you see, the reason I added the dashes so we can tell them different. The reason I added the dashes so we could tell them different. If we click it again, you see we see two dashes now, but it's the same information. It's just printing at different times. And when you click the button, it gets that little ease in, ease out for the text. Alright, cool. So that's look like that's working pretty. Look at is how could we possibly like add some curves? Like I rarely see buttons where it's like anymore where it's like it looks like a rectangle. It's usually like it has some curve to the sides or so forth. So let me just resume this so we can actually see it in real time. And then what I'm gonna do is we can add another modifier to add those curved corners. And so, all right, so usually you don't see buttons like this. As I said, you rarely see squared rectangular buttons. You usually see with the curved corners. So to get those, we have to actually add another modifier, and this modifier is called corner radius. It's basically how curved you want the corners. Oops, I put a comma here. That should be a period. And then just make alright, so let me go back. So you see like a value here. Whenever you see this blue box, it's like a default value that Apple gives it. Like they're adding the default curveness for it to be 3. Right now we will definitely need more, so let's just pick 10. And we will see how that looks. And like you see like the corners are a little bit more curved here, but it's not as defined. So let's just move it up to 20. And you'll see more of it, right? You see more corners here. You can see it looks more curved. It looks like a usual button that you would see, but it's so close. I hate how close the spacing is here. So let me just add a padding. So I know we added padding here, but we can add multiple different types of padding. And yeah, this looks way more cleaner. So let's just run this again. And then once we run it and it builds the code, we should see the same curved button, and it should have the same functionality. Like it should be showing us the same thing when we type it, right? So if we click on it, we should see 2 of them. So boom, boom, we see that. Let's see if we see another one, and we are seeing the other one. So that's really good. So that's working just as expected. So let's just add resume so we can see the preview. without the simulator. The other thing we're gonna do is, so we take a look at this button, right? So now let's use another button. So I told you we were gonna take a look at a couple of them. So the other one is, all right. So we have string protocol, and then we just use string protocol, where basically we just give it a string directly, and then we just tell what we want to happen whenever the button is clicked. The other one we're gonna use now is this one right here, where it has action and label. So the real difference with this is that instead of having us just use a string directly right away, we will be able to use like a text, or we can use an image, or we can use like almost any type of view and make it a button. So right now we have it default, like Apple gives us default with as a text. You know, remember text. If you're not familiar with text, go check out the other video. You definitely need to understand that. But it gives us a text with like and the string is just button. I will see that right here, but I don't want it to say button. I'm gonna make this YouTuber items. So we're gonna change the name of it. So you see it's different. It's different from the button up here, whereas it has just directly we add the string, versus here we have a label and then we add the text here. And then right here you see we have an action. So the action is the same thing though, like, so whatever we put inside the action is what we want to happen whenever the button is pressed. Okay, so for this one now, when you click enter, it might it won't necessarily give us the get rid of the action, you know, so you don't see action here. We might still have it. So what I want you to do, we will probably have some curly braces here still even after pressing enter. So go inside the curly braces and actually press enter again, and we're gonna add something that we want to happen, and that's print. And I'm gonna print is we are learning about buttons. Okay, so whenever we click and like let's change this. So what are we learning? Let's change to a different type of button. Alright, so the button now says what are we learning, and then whenever we click it we should see we are learning about buttons. So let's just run that and see what it looks like. And again, the only reason it's showing below it is because why? We're in a Vstack, okay? And Vstack shows things from up to down, going downward flow, vertical flow. Alright, so remember, whenever we click the new button, we should see we are learning about buttons. So let's just click it, and we do see it here, and we keep seeing it. Alright, so that's working as expected. Now let's check if the other button is still good. Yeah, it looks like we're still good in here. Alright, cool. So let's just stop the simulator there, and then we'll jump back. So I do not like how this new button looks, so let's just add some colors to it. And I kind of want it to stay look pretty much like how this button looks up here. So what we could do again is just copy the modifiers that we need. So just Command C, and then make sure it's at the edge, like where the you see where this, like, so click right here and you'll see where the button parentheses ends. So it's this is the opening one and this is the closing one, and you have to just make sure you put the modifiers right after that. So it's pretty much the same thing here, where you have to make sure you put the modifiers like right after wherever the button pretty much ends. This one was a little bit different though. You see right here, because we use a different type of button, we added the modifier after this curly braces, versus here we're adding it after this parentheses. It seems a little confusing now, but trust me, I get used to it. But the point is, you can just share modifiers, you know, you don't have to go through it and check each one each time. So this looks good to me. I do want to change the background though, so let's just change it from red. I feel like red is too, I don't know, it just feels too red. Let's just make this blue. You know, blue is like usually red's arch nemesis, so let's just keep it as that. And yeah, we should have it just like that. One thing I want to show you is, so remember when I said a button can not just be text like this, we could also have an image. So an image that we could use, and you might not have this right now. I'm gonna show you more about it. So to get an image in SwiftUI, literally all we need to do is type in image, parentheses, and then make sure you click on sys. So when you click just like this, you'll see a bunch of them, a whole bunch of different images, UI image, system image, a whole bunch of them. The only one I want you to click on is system name. And the reason for this is it accepts a string, so you have to put in a string. And the reason for this is because these images are like images that Apple already made that we can use. So it's additional download that you would have to do to get these images. To get an app called SF Symbol. So if you click here, I'm gonna just give you a preview of what it is. It's a whole bunch of different images that Apple made for free for us to use however we like. So a whole bunch of different images. So I'm just gonna pick one of these. Let me try person. Is there a person one? Okay, so there's a person one, and literally you can just right click it, copy the name, and you just plop it right in there, and you'll see just like that, you see the image here. So this image now is not, both of these are now a button together. So if we click run, it should still work. It will just have an image in it. There won't be any other change rather than just being an image in it. Okay, so yeah, so it's the same thing. And let's just close that. We don't need this text either. We could just have just the image, and it would be a button. It would be a button with an image. So let's just resume so we can see the preview before we actually run the simulator again. Alright, and then let's run it. And then yeah, boom. So the nerd items button still working, and the person button is still working. Cool. So that's just an example. So with this case, we couldn't use images with this because this button, it needs a string. Like it only takes a string. But this other button that we can use, we can give it text, or we can give it an image, or we can give it almost anything as long as you put it inside label. So these two different things are just like, you see actions here and you see labels here. These are just requirements that a button need. They're actually called parameters, but yo, don't worry about that right now. Just know that they're requirements that they're stuff that we have to add for a button to work. Okay, so let me show you. So we've been using just Vstack for this. So let's see if we can put this inside a Hstack instead. So if we put this inside a, let's resume, sorry. So if we put this inside a Hstack, we should see at least the nerd items, and then we should see this person button over here. So let's try that. And all I'm going to do is just change this Vstack up here because it's just two items. I'm just going to change that V to a H. And then the view will rebuild and we'll get a better preview. I'm more up to, okay, just like that. So we have it like right here. And you could run it again and like it would be the same. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much one of the main things I wanted to go over with buttons, so you get an idea of how they work. So again, there are different types of buttons that we can use, and we can add different modifiers to them. We can have them use images as the button, or we can just have them use text, or we can have them use even both. And when we get further down, you can see we can make almost anything a button. That's one of the beautiful things about SwiftUI, I swear. So yeah, if you like this, just comment, subscribe, let me know what you want. And yeah, the next video I'm gonna touch on is I'm gonna deal with more with text fields and secure text fields. So yeah, if you're interested, again, comment, like, subscribe. Later, I'm gonna do this.